becomes a full-time starter for the first time at age 32, not by choice, but because there were injuries that forced him into that role. Then goes on to have a career year, putting up the best numbers of his life. Doesn't get offered a qualifying offer, so there's not even picks attached to his name, and now is in maybe the hottest starting pitching market we've ever seen in MLB history. Do you think Ross Stripling can get $20 million a year?
It makes you feel like somebody's going to 30 teams out there. Somebody will do it. We were not joking. We were talking toward the end of the season. What's Ross going to get? Do you go 2-30 with him? Is he going to get 15? And that's a lot. But
yeah,
what he did was remarkable. And you just said it. I would think he's sitting somewhere right now, just rubbing his hands together like this, and just can't wait for the next offer to come out, because there's some serious money getting thrown out there. And, for a variety of reasons. We talked about the lockout last year, and now the owners are out of it. And they know that the competitive balance tax is higher now, so you can spend a bit more. And let's not kid ourselves. It's not to criticize owners, but they just probably can't help themselves at times. I mean, some of the money they're throwing out there, and you see what's happening around you, and you have to counter that. Well, this team did that. We're going to have to do that. You wonder if that goes on. I don't know. I've never been in the head of an owner, but it has to be in some regard. And so Ross just has to be just drooling right now. 20 is a lot, but how can I not say somebody doesn't go? I mean, 240, 360, way too much for me for Ross Stripling, but he's over 30 now. I mean, all of the indications are like, wow, he may have pitched his best baseball already. So you hate to reward him now for what he did rather than what he's going to do. Dangerous territory, but I'd take him for 2-30 right now, because he'd be your, hard to believe, back end starter.
Yeah. Well, what made me think?
I just want to ask quickly, while you're on the topic of owners can't help themselves here, I just want to get your thoughts quickly on expanded playoffs and how that is affecting, because I know there was a bunch of pushback initially, the idea of expanded playoffs, and that it would actually drive the price down. And I've never believed that teams would be reluctant to spend because, well, it's easier to get into the playoffs now. But I think it's had the opposite effect, that teams are forced now to spend more than ever because all those fringe teams have a chance. So they're spending too.
But I think, Adam, too, like if you're a GM of a very mid-range team, how can you not want to spend a few more extra dollars now, and I keep saying it every year, just to get to the dance? Because we know if you get to October, anything can happen. Like the Blue Jays, it ended terribly. But you're telling me that if that crazy game 2 ended the way it should have, and the Blue Jays win game 3 and they win that series and they won, you tell me they can't win another series? Hey, taking on the Astros eventually is going to be very difficult, but they could have been in the ALCS, I think, easily. Like, I really believe that. That's how close they were, and that's how close a lot of teams can be. So I do agree that I think you take that extra step forward if you're an owner, president, GM, whatever the case may be, to try to get to the dance. Now, the problem is that dance, there are some pretty good dancers there now, because the Yankees got Judge back and the Astros are going to be the Astros. Like, oh my goodness, I just saw the Red Sox sign Kenley Jansen. They've been really quiet, eerily quiet. So where are they going? And the fact of the matter in all of this, your question from a Blue Jays perspective is, first of all, they're at the top of the heap now. They're spenders like everybody, but you're still in the AL East. The only thing you have going for you is the schedule's changing now, where it's going to be a little bit more balanced. So you don't have to see all these teams 19 times, but you're still going to see plenty of them. It'll help a little bit, and I'm sure the Blue Jays are going to beat up on a lot of Major League Baseball. But ultimately, you're in the AL East, and you've got teams like the Yankees, and I hate to say Red Sox, Rays, and Orioles.
Yeah, I know. Now you got to add them into it.
What a division, right? Not going to be getting easier.
I think last year proved, too, that winning the division is incredibly important. You don't wish to play those 3-game wild card series. Like, my goodness, the margin for error is not very good there.
You know what? Scott, I'm glad you said that, because what I just said about just getting to the dance, I do believe that, but I have changed my tune a little bit too, because of what happened to the Blue Jays. If you don't win the AL East, you are putting yourself in a position for anything to happen in 2 or 3 days. And we saw what happened. crazy things can happen in a small sample like that. And none of us want to relive game 2 of that series game against the Mariners, but crazy things happen and boom, you're out. So that right there, if that's not incentive to try to win the AL East, nothing is.
I'm not even a Canucks fan, but the Vancouver Canucks and Montreal Canadiens game that was on 2 days ago, where the Canucks came back from like a 4-0 deficit, it triggered me. I was just like, oh God, I got to turn it off. It reminds me of the Jays blowing the lead.
Flashbacks.
Flashbacks.
Couldn't make it up, could you?
No, that's right. So you did touch on Bo Bichette really quickly off the top here, and I do want to delve in a little bit more on this because, I mean, obviously we watched Teoscar get shipped off, and we touched on it already in this talk, that is a major offensive piece coming out of this lineup. And it was interesting, too. I was looking at Bo Bichette's plate appearances. He's at 1,600 for his career. And, you know, you always hear the pundits talk about and ex-players talk about, you really start to know who a player is at that 1,500 plate appearances, and they kind of find who they are as a hitter. They've seen enough pitching to know what they're doing in the batter's box. Can we expect Bo Bichette to be a little closer to September Bo in 2023, or is that asking a lot?
I do. I'm expecting that from Bo. We've seen too much good from Bo. And then throughout the course of last season, you know, the 1,500 number comes from, say, your first season, roughly 500 a season. Your first season, you come into the major leagues, they're figuring it out, you figure out the pitching. Second league, now the pitching's adjusting to you, and you've got to adjust. And then third year, you're adjusting back and forth, and that's kind of who you are. I think with Bo, what we're seeing is, I just think he can do so much in the batter's box. He's so darn athletic. The way he gets his body in a position to hit is phenomenal. I think he can do things other people can't do. The part that he has to continue to improve upon, and I think he is, we saw it a little bit more toward the end of the last season, is just to play discipline. Don't be superhuman and think you can hit everything, because quite frankly, you can't. Nobody can handle the slider that's 1.5 feet off the outside corner. So don't try to handle everything. Now, the part of that, though, that you have to be careful with is, I don't know Bo well enough. I guarantee you, I bet his answer, and I've talked to him several times about this, but he feels he is at his best when he is ultra aggressive. If you take that away from him, he might not be the same hitter. So this is one particular example, one person, because everybody really is different. Hitting is crazy. We can all teach swing decisions and swinging at strikes and swinging at balls in the middle of the plate, all these different things, but everybody, they're wired differently. They feel differently in the batter's box. But I feel like Bo now, we might be at that spot where we are going to see him take that next step where he is who he is, which is a really dynamic, talented hitter. The way he can shoot stuff the other way with 2 strikes and stay alive, the way he can jump a slider and pull it to the left center gap when he wants. I just think he is capable of all of those things. And not everybody is. Like Matt Chapman's not capable of doing some of the things Bo does. And I just thought of that name offhand because it just came to me real fast. Mm-hmm. Very different types of hitters. Can Matt Chapman be very effective with what he does? Yes, he's a power type guy, going to have some swing and miss, can be very valuable. But I think Bo's that next level that can actually challenge for a batting title for those reasons. He can drive the ball, but when I say that too as a catcher, because whenever I was behind the plate with a guy like Bo, he is the toughest guy to attack because you get to 2 strikes and you think you're right where you want to be. And you are, when it was that previous Bo that would expand the zone and chase the high fastball or chase the fastball up and in off the plate or the slider down and away. But when he starts getting a little bit more disciplined with that and understanding that I'm not going to chase that, you got to come to me. Now it's like, man, we go away, he's going to drive it over there. We try to come in, he's going to inside out a base hit to right field. Like those guys are really tough to face. And I think the best of Bo Bichette, honestly, is coming. It's coming.
Wow, that would be so nice. Like, boy, it would sure be easier to swallow the loss of Teoscar Hernandez if we see September Bo for a prolonged period of time.
And Vladdy, for that matter, right?
And Vladdy for that matter. And Vladdy for that matter.
And that's why I see those two guys. They're the cogs in the wheel. And this is what the Blue Jays have done, though. They've complemented that with a Springer. They've complemented it now with a Chapman. I mean, and the Kirk's come into his own. Like, it's really turned into a nice offensive machine. Is it right where they want it to be just yet? Probably not, but it's pretty darn good.